Welcome back to Emerge and Thrive, the show where women in transition come to grow, glow, and go after what's next. I'm your host, Zaiba Hasan, and today we're diving into a topic that might not feel so sexy, but it's extremely powerful. Estate planning after major life transitions. Whether you're navigating a divorce, recovering from a loss of a partner, or starting fresh after a big life shift, this episode is here to make sure you're not just surviving, but protecting everything you're building. I am so honored to be joined by my dear friend, Cameronne Taillon. She is an award-winning estate planning attorney with over 20 years of experience. She has personal, powerful insight into what it really takes to plan for the future you deserve. Cameronne, thank you so much for coming and welcome. You help women through all kinds of transitions, and you've experienced probably one of the hardest that we can imagine, losing your husband. Why is it so important for women specifically to revisit their estate plans during or after these pivotal life moments?
Well, I really like the concept of the glow up. I feel like maybe that's what I need to start calling it instead of estate planning, right? Whenever we're going through a transition as women, we have the opportunity to kind of assess everything that we're going through and use it as an opportunity to glow up, right? It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and it's not always a fun process, I can tell you personally. But it is an opportunity to pick yourself up and get some of those big adulting things done. And that's kind of how I view estate planning. I'd almost like to call it life planning, because really we're looking at your life, we're looking at your family assets and thinking, what do you want to happen? In the circumstance something happens to you or you're incapacitated, what can we do? So I like to look at the big picture and not really dive into like the legal aspects. This is about your life. This is about what you want.
That's so interesting. So, often we think, I'll deal with this later. I'm too young for that. But the cost of waiting can be really big.
It's like adulting, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
some of us don't want to do it, but we got to do it.
We got to do it. And it's like, as women, as mothers, we're triaging. We're constantly in the triage mode of who needs to be where, what do we need to do in this exact moment or the next 5 minutes, right? So a lot of times estate planning kind of gets kicked down the road.
Yes.
And then what I see is people in crisis.
Okay.
So we're just trying to avoid a crisis by handling something now and doing it, making sure everything is the way we want it, so that we don't have a crisis later, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I understand. Listen, I know.
Yes.
I understand it can be hard to kind of adult.
And to think about those things.
Right.
It can be scary to think about.
It is. A lot of times people don't want to think about this stuff. And I get it.
Yeah.
I am guilty of that myself. When my husband passed away, my youngest son was not even named in our estate plan.
Oh,
and I do this for a living.
Yes.
I just outed myself.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's very important for people to know that even an attorney with the background was like, I didn't even think about it.
You just don't think this stuff is going to happen.
Exactly.
You really don't. And it does, unfortunately. And it's all about planning.
100%.
And just getting that check mark on your adulting bucket list.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. You talked a little bit about the glow up for what for an estate plan. I like that thought process.
Yeah,
what are some of the must-have check boxes for women who are post-divorce, post-loss, or potentially entering a new chapter of their life?
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do is an audit or a review of your beneficiary designations.
Okay.
So that's on your life insurance policies. Probably have one at work if you're working. Maybe you have a separate private policy. Your stock accounts, retirement accounts, all of those things. It's so important to make sure that your beneficiary designation is set to who you want it. A lot of times if you're coming out of a divorce, you might have your spouse, your ex-spouse as your...
We might need to take them off that list.
Might want to look at that, right? So, that's really important. And then it's also really important to redo all of your documents, like your will, your power of attorney, your advanced medical directive. Because again, you likely have your ex-spouse as your primary person. And you want to make sure that we're not, that we have that taken care of. And it's maybe your best friend now.
Yeah,
Or
your best friend, maybe not your sister-in-law that you might have liked at a game point. I absolutely
Right.
love that, you know?
Yeah.
So for the women that are listening right now who are newly single, grieving, or just kind of starting over and feeling a little bit overwhelmed, what are like one or two practical steps that where she should begin? Like, where do we start from that?
I think having a consultation with an estate
Yes.
planning attorney is really helpful, because you will meet with someone, you'll meet with an attorney, they'll explain to you, they'll ask you a bunch of questions about your assets, about what you want, and will help you walk through what you need to do. A lot of times when I have women coming to me, they're mostly concerned about their children, guardianship issues, who would get my kids, who would pay for them, and we just walk through all those issues, and I try to make it as accessible and as possible, and just, you know, I've been there, I get it. We're all worried about our kids and our finances, and we just try to make it as easy as possible.
I absolutely love that. Cameronne, thank you so much for your heart, your brilliance, your story, and your expertise are such a gift for women who are rebuilding, reclaiming your power. Schedule an estate planning consultant with Taillon Law and take the first brave step. Share this episode with a friend, and remember, life doesn't end at 40, it's just beginning.